Hello all, my name's Matt Johnston and welcome to the Interesting Times, a political comedy show from the UK. So, Keir Starmer's launched the government's push into AI, with the government's own website promising that it'll deliver a decade of national renewal. And after that, global warming, World War III, deadly airborne virus, delete as applicable, will make the planet uninhabitable. Yeah, you thought last week's show was depressing. The website went on to say that the public sector will spend less time doing admin, which is good news for all those in the public sector. Except admin.
I'm really pleased that very highly successful players within the sector have come out very strongly in support of the plan that we've put on the table in the last day or two. And that is really significant because in the end, as I said in my speech, they are the ones that will be making the breakthroughs of the future. They are the ones that are deciding where is it that they want to have their office, where is it they want to have their staff.
So, all this money, all this noise, all this intelligently artificial, and it's not really what people wanted to talk about.
On the broader question of the economy, the country is in a hole economically. Bluntly, the government looks to be in a hole economically.
Look, PM, UK borrowing costs are at the highest since the financial crisis. Investors are worried about massive borrowing and flat growth.
The interest rates the government pays have risen again today. And on your fiscal rules, you've run out of money.
Companies are complaining about your budget in October. What's your plan? Will you cut the benefits bill? And yes or no, will Rachel Reeves be your Chancellor at the next general election?
If you're absolutely sticking to the fiscal rules, that means you're coming back for spending cuts, doesn't it?
There is increasing disquiet among your MPs and advisers over your Chancellor's decisions. Will Rachel Reeves be your Chancellor for the duration of this Parliament?
Starmer wanted to reassure everyone, well, the Chancellor, he's backing her 100%.
Rachel Reeves is doing a fantastic job. She has my full confidence.
Yeah, she's gone. Or is she? Because when Starmer says he's backing his Chancellor, he absolutely is, for one very important reason.
I would say, looking back over the last 50 years, any time any Prime Minister has ever thought, I'm going to solve the problem of my Chancellor in crisis by sacking my Chancellor.
I've lived that. So I was sacked on the Friday, the 14th of October, etched in my memory. And then on the 20th of October, on Thursday, she came out in Downing Street and announced her resignation.
Exactly. Kwesi was sacked and then less than a week later, Truss was gone. But honestly, you can't tell some people.
Rachel Reeves has pushed this country to the brink of economic crisis through high taxes, high regulation, and disastrous net zero policies. When I tried to fix these problems back in 2022, I was undermined by the economic establishment, and I was forced to reverse the policies before they were even implemented.
Ironic to think that Blanca's part of that video wasn't the background. So, Rachel Reeves not going anywhere, but there has been a casualty, a member of the government who was Economic Secretary to the Treasury City Minister. Yes, Tulip Siddiq has resigned over her links to her aunt Sheikh Hasina. And not just the fact that she's her aunt. Sheikh Hasina was Bangladesh's Prime Minister, and not a particularly good one. Widespread enforced disappearances and extrajudicial killings increased under her watch, as well as the targeting and punishing of journalists and opposition members that stood against her. And a total mismanagement of the economy. Tulip, are you sure you're in the right party? Anyway, Tulip referred herself to the Prime Minister's independent advisor on ministers' interests. And on the 14th of January, the report came out in which he stated while he found no evidence of improprieties, it was regrettable that Tulip was not more alert to the potential reputational risks. But the shortcomings were not a breach of the ministerial code. On the same day, Tulip announced her resignation, saying she didn't want to be a distraction for the government. To which Keir Starmer said, "Really? Because I'll be quite honest, we could do with a distraction right now." So, Rachel Reeves was very much in the firing line for a fairly uninspiring budget and in an economy that wasn't so much flatlining as not getting out of bed till noon. And the opposition spotted an opportunity to sweep in. Leader of the opposition to humanity, decency and the truth, Cammy Badenoch.
If he does the right thing with Rachel Reeves, I will also support him in that. But his women problem is not my concern.
Kemi there, very much the Conservatives' women problem. And the only women problem Reform has is that most of them won't vote for them.
She is hopelessly out of her depth. And my advice to the Prime Minister would be find someone who actually knows how to make money.
Oh, well, with that in mind, are you doing anything over the next few years, Nigel? Because you definitely know how to make money. He's currently advertising a fundraising dinner at £25,000 a head. That's a lot of funds, where he will lay out his vision for the future about growing wealth. His own, obviously. And as a man that is currently raking in over £500 million a year on his 9 jobs, which include being an ambassador for gold bullion, incredible. So, is it okay to do things like work for companies that want you to be their ambassador, or cameo, or a journalist to ask questions about the government when your job is opposing the government, or a TV presenter on a channel that calls itself a news channel to decide on who comes on and what questions you ask them, or on Twitter to orchestrate violence, when maybe you should be serving their constituents as a Member of Parliament? That's what they do. Of course, if you do take all the jobs, it means there are less to go around, as ex-Conservative MPs Charles Walker, Jonathan Goodless and Jackie Doyle-Price have discovered. Having hopped off, or in Jonathan's case, been kicked off the gravy train, they have all been unable to find work. Mr. Krabs, I believe you've got this.
Oh, boo-hoo! Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin.
So, Yvette Cooper has some welcome news.
This government has now commissioned Baroness Louise Casey to instigate a rapid review to uncover the prevalence of this appalling crime.
OK, that's great, but can we call it an inquiry, please? A review gives off all the wrong connotations. Lack direction, everyone was believable except the police. Could have really done with a song and dance number. 5 stars. Anyway, the inquiry is happening. But was all this down to Elon Musk? I mean, yes, you have to say it is. Maybe not directly, but certainly him tweeting endlessly about it made his employees in the UK aware of it and to highlight it, and others who want to show they really care. But if that brings about the end result, does that end justify the means? Okay, so first things first. I think we can all agree that anything that stops the abuse and rape of children is a good thing, and anything that blocks that is a bad thing, right? I mean, that we can all agree on. Good. But that's not really what's happening here. So firstly, as we spoke about on last week's show, we had an inquiry that started a decade ago, and we've done nothing with the recommendations. Hopefully that's now going to change, but if he genuinely cared about those children, he would be endlessly tweeting about why the government isn't implementing the 20 recommendations from that report. By the way, on GB News, you know, the channel where the truth goes to die, Richard, unmasked villain from Scooby-Doo, Tice, said this.
You could have a 1-year rapid inquiry specifically into these child rape gangs, which we've not yet had.
But how exactly would that work? The 7-year inquiry you said didn't go far enough. You would be making this 7 times quicker while apparently delving deeper into this. And if Elon Musk really cared about the child victims, he wouldn't be tweeting about freeing Tommy Robinson, a man who is in prison for spreading lies about a child who then received death threats. And finally, if Elon Musk is so concerned about rape, then maybe he should make a donation to a children's charity or a rape centre, rather than to an actual rapist. Just a thought.
Take our next question, which is from Lorraine Andrews-Miller. Off you go.
Is Elon Musk a friend or foe of the UK?
I think complaining about Elon Musk is a bit, and social media and the internet is a bit like sailors complaining about the sea. It is what it is. And the fact that he's from overseas, well, we've had overseas governors of the Bank of England, we've had overseas England football managers.
Oh yeah, we all remember when Fabio Capello started lecturing everyone about the dangers of quantitative easing. Well, for all the good he did as England manager, he might as well have done. By the way, that there is Liam Halligan. He's an idiot, like an actual bona fide badge-wearing member of the club Bonehead. He has written for The New Statesman, The Spectator, The Sun, Unheard. He's worked for GB News for 2 years before quitting after his show got axed. And since 2003, he has written for The Telegraph. Yeah, so facts aren't a big deal to this guy. Not like, free speech. And like Elon, he's not a fan of Starmer. But that's not the only similarity these men share.
And the woman who spent 7 years compiling a report on child abuse, which included grooming, wasn't solely about that, interviewed something like 7,000 victims, says there's no point in having a national inquiry, just get on and do the recommendations that I've suggested. Does she not know more about it than you?
Why don't we do both, Fiona? Why don't we do both?
Well, she's saying a national inquiry is a waste of time.
Shared similarity number 1. When pressed on further evidence from experts, they have no wish to engage or change their minds.
Why won't Labour have a national inquiry? Is it because their current leader was Director of Public Prosecutions during a lot of this period?
Regular watchers of the show will know that I've already covered Starmer's time as head of the CCP, Crown Prosecution Service, over the last 2 weeks. Clearly Liam hasn't, but that is shared similarity number 2, asking questions, rather than doing some research and seeking answers, which is very much a staple of the right and far right.
With all respect to Lorraine and her question, I have to say a lot of this discussion about Elon Musk is pure displacement activity. This whole question, this time on question time, the headlines we've seen over recent weeks should have been all about the grooming gang scandals. And
Liam, with respect to you, that's not what Lorraine's question is, and that's how it works on question time. So her question is about, is Elon Musk a friend or foe? And he's talked not just about grooming, he's talked about other things as well.
And similarity with Elon number 3, twisting the question to suit something that it isn't, by making it about something no reasonable person would disagree with. Well done, Fiona Bruce, on calling it out. And those 3 points are why an inquiry will not solve anything for him or them. Because unless it shows Keir Starmer burning children's statements while kissing the Quran, they're not interested. We should have a full and national inquiry, absolutely we should. But it should take as long as it takes. If you stick time limits on it, especially restrictive ones like Dickie there suggesting, there's a chance not everything will be covered. And then what? Another inquiry? It should be able to look at cover-ups, be that by the police, by certain section of the Labour Party, and yes, by Muslim communities in northern towns. We shouldn't be afraid to tackle religious groups on this. After all, we did the same with the Roman Catholic Church and the Church of England, although only after allowing decades of inaction, which led to further horrifying crimes. Please, dear God, let us not make the same mistakes again. But we shouldn't smear an entire community based on this. Luckily, Liam Halligan wasn't the only one on Question Time on Thursday.
I don't think he makes his interventions for good intentions. I think it is absolutely right to say we are talking about this because he is the sort of most followed man on the planet in terms of Twitter, and he controls the algorithm. Many of us here want really big questions asked about what was happening in those communities. But who is he promoting? Now, the British public have a sense of fairness. They have a sense of injustice. We're all sickened by what's happened. But the British public is no fan of somebody like Tommy Robinson. And the person who Elon Musk has been promoting is Tommy Robinson. And that is not who we are as a society. We know it happens in all different walks of life. We know it's happened in the Church of England. We know it's happened in the Catholic Church. Now, I am from a Muslim community, and I have been absolutely appalled at what has happened. And so many Muslims have been appalled. Now, of course, you have to look at this in the round, but you also do have to look. Something very dark happened in these towns across our country. And I, as a Muslim person, have got to face up to the fact something was happening in those communities. And all good Muslims will think that as well. So we should ask further questions on this. We should have curious minds, open hearts, and we should prosecute this and ask more questions without fear or favour. But what we mustn't do is smear an entire group of people.
Well said, Ayesha Hazarika. And that's it. Now time to talk about the fact that Donald Trump is getting inaugurated. Yes, I know it sounds like a painful medical procedure, but don't get your hopes up. He's actually been made president for a second time. I mean, say what you like about us Brits, but at least we only Brexited once. So yeah, he's going. His kids are going, the billionaires that control our minds are going, but there's someone that isn't.
And it is pretty embarrassing for Britain to have the special relationship that we have, and everybody knows we have it with the United States of America, but Donald Trump has seen fit not to invite Sir Keir Starlin, no doubt because of his views on Donald Trump. And next Monday, when Donald Trump is inaugurated as the 47th President of the United States of America, I consider it to be a massive stain on British history that our Prime Minister will not be there.
Well, you won't be surprised to hear we've had a few stains in our history. Hey, lot of history, lot of stains. But this must be the worst one ever. Sir Hitler, Jimmy Savile, Khmer Rouge, Freddy Krueger, Starmer has not been invited to the president's inauguration. The first time that's happened in 5 years, when Boris Johnson wasn't invited to Joe Biden's inauguration. Or before that, when David Cameron didn't go to Barack Obama's inauguration. Or when Gordon Brown didn't attend Barack Obama's first inauguration. When James Callaghan didn't attend Jimmy Carter's inauguration, or when Harold Wilson didn't attend Richard Nixon's inauguration, or when George Hamilton Gordon didn't attend Franklin Pierce's inauguration, or when Edward Jeffrey Stanley didn't attend Miller, or when King George III wasn't even invited to the inauguration of George Washington. And as an extra slap in the face, the music Washington walked off to was We Are the Champions by the British band Queen. Yes, it was a long way to go for that joke, but I stand by it. Basically, no British Prime Minister has ever attended the inauguration of a president. That's got nothing to do with a special relationship, by the way. I mean, it's pretty clear that Starmer's not a fan of Trump and vice versa. No world leaders get invited to the inauguration because, like getting your gun from a vending machine, it is a uniquely American event. That's not to say there won't be Brits attending. Nigel Farage, seen here celebrating the UK's sovereignty from foreign interference, will be in the States, as well as Liz Truss. I mean, she hasn't been invited, she's just going. Somebody will talk to you, Liz. Go on, find a friend. No time to talk about the fact that it was Rod Stewart's 80th birthday last week. Happy birthday, Rob. Have to say, though, time's not been kind to him.
You're thinking of becoming an MP, I hear.
Well, that's right. We're going to start off with a local councillor and see where it goes from there. I've been asked if I'd like to do it by Nigel.
Just kidding. That is former boss of Pimlico Plumbers and man that gets his plastic surgery from the Co-op, Charlie Mullins, who's ready to join the reform revolution. Now, a few of you might be a bit confused by this. After all, Reform are a big Brexit backers, and Pimlico Plumbers, while Charlie was in charge, were very heavy Remainers. I mean, this was their sign at the headquarters in Waterloo. So, has Charlie himself been reformed and seen the lie?
Do you think if there's a referendum today, you still vote to Remain or you vote to Brexit? Have you seen the light?
Have I seen the light?
Yeah.
You mean, have they seen the light? Of course I'll be Remain still. I've not seen any change or any benefit by leaving the EU.
Right, Charlie, just letting you know you might be joining the wrong party. But speaking of the right party, the Liberal Democrats, or the Normals as I'm starting to call them, have called openly for a UK-EU trade union. Psst, Ed, and I know you know this, but the EU already has a customs union. And we've had quite a bit of input into it already. Might save you a bit of time, that's all right? Something to think about. All right, that's it for another week. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please like, share, subscribe, hit all the notifications bell, and hey, leave me a comment if you like. And I'll see you all next Sunday. Take care.